So today I'm going to go over using Claude AI to create a structured report from narratively dictated report. I like to dictate narratively because it matches well with my search pattern. I can easily go in my order, and I find that with our structured template sometimes it's tough to match the order. And also there are similar examinations that have slightly different orders of the items in the structured report. So I'm going to give a couple examples of that, or one example of that, sorry. So here we have a chest without template and a lung RADS template. And usually for the lung RADS studies, we have the lung RADS template loaded. But depending on how the ordering clinician puts in the order, they may want a lung RADS, but it may be not ordered the right way. And it can be a little bit frustrating to keep track of everything in the structured report as I'm trying to look at the images, dictate at the same time. I'm not necessarily looking over at what's being transcribed every second, obviously. And then knowing what field I'm in currently can be difficult. And I can tab through it or work through the fields with the dictaphone, or I can say field nodules, field mediastinum. But if I say that in the dictaphone, it sometimes takes 1 to 2 seconds for it to go to that section before I can start dictating. And another example is the sections might be in different places. So in this chest without template, the nodule section is the sixth section, whereas in this chest lung RADS template is the first section that I can actually go to or select with the in PowerScribe under the findings. And so what I will show is that I can just use Claude and I can actually load. I'll just load the chest without template here, and I can give Claude a prompt of what I wanted to do. So I've already prepared that, so you don't have to suffer through me actually saying all this. Basically just giving instructions to Claude for what I want, how I want the template used, and when I don't want it to say anything about a section or not change anything, I'd give that. I also finally say, write up a succinct impression, and then also provide follow-up recommendations if appropriate. So I'll feed that to Claude. Great, it understands what I want to do. So here is an example study showing 3 different studies, a baseline and then 2 follow-ups a few months after each other. There's a nodule here, and this is following that nodule and just making sure that it actually decreases in size or resolves. Initially it was thought to be an infectious or inflammatory nodule. Of course, these are all anonymized. The dates are anonymized too, but the differences between the dates, the time length between the dates are preserved. And here you can see that there's this decrease in size from here to here. It's about the same size from here to here, but it looks a little bit better, in particular between the most remote prior and the current study. And there are some other findings too on this examination. So instead of making you suffer through me dictating the report, I already did that, and I'll just mention a couple things. First, I start off with the most recent comparison, and then I go into my normal search pattern. And finally, I get to the nodule here, and I describe the nodule in comparison to its the most recent chest CT. But then I mention that there's a more remote chest CT compared to that examination, and talk about another nodule or a few more scattered nodules. Then I move on to some other stuff that in my search pattern. And so I'll just feed this to Claude and then see what it comes up with. So while I was printing that out, I will load up. This isn't the correct template, the one that I loaded. So I loaded this one, the chest without. So it actually filled in that it was a CT chest without contrast. The current examination was that I compared to both of these chest CTs, 6/13/2018 and 2/21/2018. That's correct. Then So then heart is normal. All this is correct. Talks about the nodule of interest in lung section. As it's decreased in size from 2/21/2018, but unchanged from 6/13/2018, and also says that it previously had more prominent peripheral ground glass opacity, which I did say on the more remote prior. Mentions a few scattered pulmonary nodules elsewhere. It's great. Then nodules as described in the lung sections. That doesn't repeat what I said about the nodule. So that's great. Then everything else is correct. Other thyroid is normal. Great. So that's fantastic. Created this other section actually for the thyroid. Fine with me. Then the impression, 7 by 6 millimeter pulmonary nodule, unchanged. Great. Few scattered pulmonary nodules, nothing new, which is important. No pleural effusion or pneumothorax. No evidence of lymphadenopathy. Great. Nothing acute. So honestly, pretty good impression. Recommendations, consider follow-up chest CT in 6 to 12 months. That's reasonable. So I actually filled out everything really well. And that, again, was just based off a narrative. I didn't even worry about anything. And interestingly enough, I will show that in that narrative dictation, I also had some transcription errors. So let's see here. Here's an example. Based on the heart are normal. Well, mediastinum and heart are normal. But ignores that, correctly presumed that the mediastinum and heart were normal, which is great. So there's an example of using Claude to go from a narrative style report to a structured report, and I've tried this on other things. It works really well, and in the future I hope to present a couple other videos, one showing maybe a bunch of templates that Claude can pick from the correct one depending on how you dictate, and be appropriately alerting you of any important findings from prior studies that you should talk about in your current report. That'll be in the future. Thank you very much.